Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. We are on the air. This is Thesis.
I mean, the Persian Empire's army was so big, they would dry out the rivers. But Herodotus says that in his book. When all my life, growing up, through the 80s, all I remember being taught at school is that we should be colorblind. But now it seems like these people that call themselves progressives are looking back past the civil rights to where now I should care about what skin color I am or the other person is. Educate yourself, open your eyes. Don't be led around like sheep or cattle.
Government will always push its boundaries, no matter who is in charge.
Today's show, I wanted to talk about a little bit about like legalization and things like that. When markets get saturated, only the strong survive.
We see the crossover from what religion teaches us about behaviors, and we can see the proof in the science.
I'm not scared of the virus. I'm not scared of the pandemic. You know why? Because I know that there's something greater than all of this.
This is Thesis. Everything is everything. I am your host, Jay Marie.
3, 2, 1, we are on the air. This is Thesis. Everything is everything. I am your host, Jay Marie. How's it going out there, folks? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for showing up and hanging out with us today. Coming to you live from Zombieland. Yes, sir. Well, I want to thank you for showing up and hanging out with us today. I hope you find yourself well and safe and healthy and all that good stuff. So, appreciate you checking in on us today. It's been a minute, how we normally do, but it's okay because it gives us time to marinate on ideas, right? So that's why, it takes a minute, but we're here. I am alive, I am well, and I am healthy. Thank you very much. All right, so real quick, let me do some housekeeping real quick. I want to welcome all of our new listeners out there. I want to thank you for checking in on us and coming back. So I appreciate you guys. For all our new listeners, real quick, if you start on, if this is your first episode or your second episode, work your way backwards. Don't go to episode 1 because things were rough back then. Things weren't really, so work your way backwards and, you'd probably enjoy the show a little better that way. Also, for all of our new family members, we have the YouTube channel and all of our shows. Well, sorry, not all of our shows. A lot of our shows during the past year are on there. But they also have been converted into clips. So if you heard certain things on certain episodes recently, you can go find them in videos and clips, motivational videos. And I also got, the Thesis Films project. So you can go over to our channel. The links are in the show notes. So you can go over there and subscribe. That'll be great also, so you won't miss a thing. We also, on our Facebook page, we have a lot of shareable content there. So if you want to follow us and subscribe on those things, that'll be excellent. And that really does help the algorithm. It really does help a lot. So thank you for that and welcome. So I've been marinating on our next topic for a few weeks now. I knew what I wanted to talk about, and so I took a couple weeks to go over some things, to listen to some audiobooks, to listen to different things, to kind of get my mind, kind of focused in like a laser on what it is that we're going to talk about. So we are going to talk about integrity. Now, the reason why I chose to speak about integrity is because, there seems to be a lot of things going on, and it makes us wonder about, how could this be happening? Let's say in certain organizations or in the government or in our local government or at work, right? In our businesses and stuff, right? Sometimes these things happen and we're like, how could it be that this is happening, right? Like, how did it get to this point or something like that, right? There's been things happening in the movement that has raised a lot of eyebrows recently. Starting in December, there's been things going on with certain creators and organizations, and it just seems to organizations and people and that you kind of like, dang, you kind of like, man, I kind of always thought that we wouldn't have this happen. Like, damn, these people seem principled, or there's these things happening that kind of raise the question is like, how is it, how is it that certain people in certain positions or whatever can allow this to happen or are acting in a certain manner to make something happen, right? A person in leadership position who doesn't have their integrity, like they lack integrity, right? Will do things and say things and maneuver things in order to whatever. No, who knows the motivation behind certain things, right? Why would that person do that? Or why would this organization do that? Dang, why would the board of directors do that at this time? Um, a leader, a president, or whatever, right? These things, like, how could it be? So that's the reason why I wanted to kind of talk about integrity. Is because there's always things happening, and we're always asking questions about why, who would let this happen, or why did it happen, or whatever. But it always comes down to failures in failures in people, in systems, in organizations. There's failures, but in people mostly, because we put people in positions in charge of this or in charge of that, and you run this, you run that. I'm trusting you to, I'm gonna put you in this position to run this department. I'm trusting you to make sure that the numbers are correct, that everybody shows up, that all the whatever it is, I'm putting you in control of something. I'm putting you in charge of a group, in charge of this business, in charge of this sector, in charge of these people, right? So it comes down to, like, leadership. Anybody can be put in a position of leadership. Hey, you, come here. I need you to watch over this stuff, to watch over these people, to guide them or whatever. It's okay, but I've never done it. It's okay. Just do it, right? Anyone can be put in a leadership position, but leadership, the quality of leadership is a gift. It's something that I think that we're all capable of, but it has to be, like, unlocked. A certain strong type of leader. Leadership in and of itself takes something special. From the person in charge, right? And a lot of times, well, most of the time, we can boil it down to integrity. Does this person have integrity, right? Can I trust this person to manage my, my business, to manage my group of workers, to manage this project, right? To run this organization, right? To be a board member in this organization, to be a mayor, to be a senator, to be a governor, to be a president, right? So integrity. Let's go to the beginning. So integrity. The definition of integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. And then the second definition, the state of being whole or undivided, right? Honesty, moral principles, moral uprightness, right? A step, morality lately has been, morality is a standard, right? And people try to fight against, well, who decides what morality is? But time, right? Humanity, over however many thousands and thousands of however long humanity has been around, has decided what morality is, right? And over the thousands and thousands of years, we've kind of come to there's kind of like a list, right? A list of 10 things that kind of guide humanities through to moral society, right? So, like in the religious books, the 10 Commandments or whatever, don't kill, don't steal, don't your other people's wives, and don't all these things, right? Those standards um, kind of set, let's say, okay, they say this is the standard that we are going to live by, that we've seen, and we've decided that over long stretches and periods of time, if we follow these standards, things will be good, right? So we'll say this is the moral guideline, this is the moral outline, right? Things outside of this structure, outside of this moral structure, we'll deem dangerous, we'll deem poisonous. We can say, no, but it's been tried. Over the thousands and hundreds of thousands of years that humanity's been doing whatever, those things have been around. They've been tried. They've been seen. Like, oh, that's why a lot of things are looked down upon. Because this isn't our first rodeo, right? History didn't start yesterday. History didn't start in the 90s or the 80s or in the 70s or even in the 1900s. No. We've been around for a long time, right? Right. So integrity, it's the quality of the person. Who says, you know what? I'm not gonna steal, no matter what. If I'm hungry, I'm not gonna steal, right? That's my, that's the standard, right? It's that behaviors, the way we treat each other, love, and not to hate or not to hit or attack or be violent with each other, those things, right? That's the standard. We're gonna stay away from those things because they are not moral. If I go up to you and just punch you in your face, hey, what the hell's your problem, right? That's not moral, right? So we know what these things are. We don't, they don't even have to be explained to us, right? You don't kill. Oh, everybody knows that we don't kill, we don't steal, we don't do these things, right? It's a natural law, And so integrity. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to just give a couple stories of when I was put in charge of things of value, and in a time way back in the day that where I lacked integrity, yet I was put in charge of these things, and it didn't go, it didn't work out for the people that put me in charge, right? So as many of you know, who's been with me from the beginning, know that I am from gangs, and I am from, I come from the hood, and drug dealers and gangs and scheming and all these things, right? Like, so that's the world that I come from, and that's the world that to exist in, you don't have morality, you don't have integrity. You lie, you cheat, you steal, you do whatever you have to do to survive. You do whatever you have to do to make the next buck, to try to get ahead, right? There is no standard really to follow in that world, right? So as some of you know, like we had a crew. We sold drugs back in the day, and we had a crew, and it's like, so some of the things that we've been involved in, some of the things that I've been involved in are things that you see in the movies, things that you see in the narco movies or in the Sicario movies and in gang movies and stuff like that. Like, that's a real world that really exists, and I've been there, right? So we had a crew, right? And they used to move a lot of work, it's the setup was different. It's not like in the mob where you have captains and crew members and all that. No, there's a crew, but whoever has the work, whoever has the material is because some people have the material sometimes, then somebody else has it. So there's really whoever has the material, whoever has the work is the boss, for that till the work is gone. Then whoever else, right? So anyhow, we had a crew moving a lot of stuff, different forms, different people. As the family, we had a family thing. As the and one day they said, hey, we got, because we're moving birds, we're selling birds and all kinds of things. So they said, hey, we have the package ready with the money, right? It was like $500,000. As the, well, anywhere from like 300,000 to about 500,000. And they said, look, we need to keep it at a spot overnight for about a day until the truck is ready to load it up to take it back down or whatever, right? All right, cool. So I told my wife and my kids to go to their whatever sisters or something, and I had to stay up to guard this money. It was like $500,000 in a box. As the box was like a box of the size of like a microwave. It wasn't like a shoebox or anything like that. It was like a size of a microwave box. And a shoebox can hold about 80,000. So it was full. And so me being the gangster I was, being the person that lacked integrity at that time or whatever, like, yeah, I'm gonna watch over this money, and they said they were gonna take care of me. Hey, we're gonna break you off or whatever, but what does that mean, right? I'm gonna take care of you. That is not a number. That is not whatever, right? So in this world, you do what you have to do. Now, of course, I pinched it. I had to skim it. I had to skim. I didn't have to do it, but I skimmed it because, hey, I'm risking my life here. Somebody could kick the door in. I got my gun, and I'm gonna stay awake all night. But somebody could kick the door in and kill me for this money, right? So I'm taking mine, right? So you reach in the middle of the pile because all the things are marked and counted and this and that. You reach in the middle of the pile and you you pinch, you take some out of this stack and that stack and that stack, so it doesn't, so anyway, so not thinking and not being concerned of what could happen, right? Because this money's going to be, it's already been counted and like secured, like double counted or whatever. It's fixing to go down. It's that money's going to be counted again, right? And they're going to say, hey, there's some G's missing out of here or whatever, right? And I wasn't worried about that. I wasn't even thinking about that. I didn't even care about that. Like, that wasn't even a second thought on my mind that somebody could get hurt or killed or I'm going to get charged back or whatever, right? But see, my lack of integrity, I have no morals, right? I am not honest. I have no strong morals. I'm not upright. You know what I'm saying? So those things didn't matter. Those things didn't matter. I just took the money, right? Because you might be saying, well, dang, you are risking your life. And sure, in that world, it's like a whole different game than in the regular society where people behave and follow the rules and everything. In that world, you kind of have to break the rules because there is no rules, So I was put in charge of something huge, and my lack of integrity, my lack of moral standards. I mean, look, first of all, we're talking about drug money and stuff, so the whole thing was messed up. But the idea itself, like, they could have come and killed all. I mean, these people don't play when it comes to the money. They don't play. You know what I'm saying? But there was nothing there for me to, because I had no moral standard, no standing, no nothing, right? So not thinking about what could happen. Like in chess, you're thinking moves ahead. Nah, we're thinking nothing, no moves ahead. This move, my next move, is the only move I was thinking, And another time I was let me see. I gotta be careful how I say this stuff. So another time I was, y'all seen in the movies, especially like in the gangster movies, right? Like they love robbing trucks, right? They'll hijack trucks because it's full of TVs or flat screens or DVDs or whatever, right? So they'll just hijack the whole truck and then they'll sell the stuff in the hood or whatever. But so in the hood, sometimes in the hood, you would hear like, dang, so-and-so has, drills, a whole bunch of drills, half, 50 cents on the dollar, half price, right? Chainsaws, lawnmowers, right? Clothing, right? In the hood, there's people who find ways to, and in one instance, I was put in a position where where stuff would fall off trucks. You know what I'm saying? Like in the mob movie term, stuff would fall off trucks, but and I kind of happened to be the one in the right place at the right time, right? So so this place, they had their hiring standards, right? They had their background checks, they had their surveillance systems, they had their security guards, they had their supervisors and overseers, and all these different things to put in place to protect things from going missing, from things from disappearing or falling off trucks, or you know and even in all of that, even through all of that, when someone has no standard to follow, right? No moral guidelines, no moral nothing, that ability of that person is like a snake to be able to slither and to look at every single failure in the system. There's no cameras over there. There's no security guards over there. This happens at this time. That happens at that time. This. All these move in different pieces. As the and like I think back to that, and it's like it takes a certain. I mean, it wasn't scary. It wasn't frightening. I wasn't scared of doing any of that stuff back in the day. Stuff falling off trucks or the drug dealing or whatever. Like, there was nothing to be afraid of. I think back now to those things. Like, I would never, like, stealing, and then we're talking about big, big, big money, right? As the, uh, that sort of stuff is like, man. And I asked myself, like, how could you have ever done anything? How could you have done those things back in the day, right? You know, Selling, we call them birds, right? A kilogram of cocaine, selling birds of cocaine, or selling hundreds of pounds, thousands of pounds of weed, as them, those things. It's like, dang it, man, what kind of a person, right? What kind of a person does that, right? Well, that's the kind of a person that does that lacks moral standards, that lacks integrity, that isn't honest, because you have to lie, you have to cheat, you have to steal in that world out there, being a gangster or a drug dealer or whatever. If you want to survive in that world, you have to be that. You have to be a snake. You have to be a snake amongst snakes, right? So that world exists out there right now, right? And every so often, snakes, immoral people, snakes, people who like to steal and stuff, they can figure out ways, like like some of the stuff that I did, they can figure out ways to work the system, to work their way into a system quietly, like the way I was moving those chess pieces, looking at all those moving parts, trying to figure it out. People, that's the mind of a criminal, right? That's the mind that lacks no guidance, that lacks no morals, right? There's those of us. I always throw myself into this because it's easy to say there's people out there. No, because I was there. There's those among us who will find ways into the system, back doors. Why? Because we're thirsty for money. We're thirsty for power. We're thirsty to see what we can get away with. Some people, just the thrill of the action. Some people like the fight of. Some people like the thrill of. And like, so I think back to those moments, and it's like there is something there. There was necessity, of course, because we really, we come from the bottom. There was necessity, but there was also a thrill there. An 18-wheeler pulling up with work in the back. It's like, that's movie stuff. You know what I'm saying? Picking up 100, 200, 300 pounds from your friend. All you got to do is show up in your truck and tell them how much you want, and you have a week to pay. That's stuff that happens in the movies. You know what I'm saying? And that's the world that exists among us. Look. I've changed my life now. It's been many years, and I'm still work in progress. But I see that life, and I've left it behind. Criminal behavior and but moral standards of myself on how I treat people, I behave, whatever. Right? There's been a change that I'm working towards, that I've been working towards for the past 10, 12, whatever, about 10 years or so. Right? As that so there's now I can see, like, dang, I used to be that person, right? I see videos of people robbing the store or whatever, like, damn, I used to be like that guy, right? But now it's about something different, about a higher standard that I wanted to hold myself to, right? As that so it's like that standard is righteousness, right? I wanna do good. I wanna do right? I wanna help people. I wanna speak truth, right? I wanna be kind, right? Righteousness in our hearts, in our thoughts, in our mind, and in our actions, where everything that we do, everything that envelops us, shines. And I don't mean like, it shines in a way like it's just good. Because man, I never see that person get angry, or when they do, it's very rare, or they know how to control their act, they know how to control themselves. It's that it shows in our actions and in our behavior. And it's work that we have to kind of like, so once we figure out what that standard is that we want to hold ourselves to, we can use religion or whatever, these different standards that we want to hold ourselves, a moral standard. Once we figure that out, the next part is accountability, right? We have to hold ourselves to account. Others will tell us, hey, you're, but self accountability is real important in something like, to trying to sharpen your integrity, to trying to strengthen your integrity, to find the integrity within you. Moral self accountability, on your thoughts, on your behaviors, telling yourself, dang, you know what? I didn't answer that person correctly. I didn't answer my father properly. I overreacted when this happened. When I was driving, I did this. When I was at the store, I did that. And even in our own mind, in our own thoughts, sometimes our mind, I would use the word fantasize, but like, we play things out in our head. We're at a concert, or we're on vacation, or we're meeting people, or whatever, right? There's the power of the mind is so important, right? Because we can get lost in those thoughts. And then accountability, we got to control our thoughts, right? So we can get lost, we can lose ourselves in our thoughts, and sometimes those thoughts can get, sometimes those thoughts can get bad. They can go to a place where, hey, we got to tell ourselves, stop thinking that, right? So once we hold ourselves to account, we can start using our mind and our thought to kind of think of these moves like in chess ahead of time. If I said, once we're in control of our thoughts, I can think, man, if I say this, they might respond this way, or think of different ways of saying things, right? I can say it this way so I won't offend nobody, or so I can get my point across, or so I won't, because maybe I'm mad and I kind of want to, but you know what? Let me get my point across without any anger, without any, right? So there's this self accountability, There's a self-accountability. We have to hold ourselves to account, to that standard, right? So C.S. Lewis is quoted as saying that integrity is doing what is right even when nobody is looking, right? years ago, I hardly ever talk about this. My closest friends know that I do this, but years ago, I think it's something like 7 years now since I came back over here. Going on 8 years, I think. So I had a church and I used to go to church, and I had decided years ago that I was gonna give my 10% to the church, right? I'm gonna give my tithing, right? Because I come from the church, right? That's where my journey started, and then I had run into I had got into some issues to where it kind of pulled me away from the church, but my heart had just, in my mind, I had already decided, you know what, I'm going to give my 10%. Not because, oh, I'm going to get more back and none of that stuff that they, you give more and you're going to get more back. No, because I felt like I needed to, all of this is about giving back to society. All of this is what I do is about giving back because I've taken so much, right? I've taken so much through the criminalities and all of these things, right? So all of this is about giving back. So years ago, I decided I want to give back, and I'm going to start with the church. And I was giving my 10%, right? But then when I got away from the church, I still had that thing in me where I was like, I have to give this money, So I was like looking for organizations, or I donate to this organization, to the, to the shelter. I was giving money wherever, right? But I kind of came to a place to where I was like, man, you know what? Just give it straight to the people. So for years now, I've been working with homeless people, but in my neighborhood for years. And the money that used to go to the church now goes to the people in my neighborhood and friends who ask for it, and I have certain people that I take care of. You know what I'm saying? So that money was already designated, right? I decided to designate 10% of my earnings to give, right? So that hasn't changed. Like I don't even count. I don't keep track of how much I give. I don't. It doesn't matter. I just know it's I don't know. I know I don't know because I don't count, but it's more than 10%, the Buddha says, give liberally, give freely, Jesus says, don't loan money with interest. He says, give it to someone who can't pay you back. You know what I'm saying? That comes from the heart. That sort of behavior humbles. It's a humbling thing. And I will admit, early on, I didn't have much. When I first started giving, I wasn't making much. So that 10%, I would feel it. And then sometimes I do remember wanting to get angry about, that I don't have enough, or, but I always kept coming back to, you've made a decision, you've made a choice, you've made a promise, that you were going to give this money to the people who need it. Because, I would tell myself, you have everything you need. You have a home, you have a job, you have food, shelter, right? So there's people out there who don't have that. And you said this money was going to go to that. So even in times when I was, feeling it, like really, really feeling it, I would just, like earlier I was saying, right, we got to self-control and hold ourselves to account. I would hold my, I would tell myself, no. Don't anger about it. Change the subject in your mind. Don't think about it. Don't think about the money. It's going to be okay. It's just money. I had to force myself on many occasions to just continue, no matter whether or not, if I had enough, whatever. No, because I told myself, this is the standard that I'm going to hold myself to, and now 7 years later, almost 8 years later, things are well, because we've worked really hard. I've worked really hard to get to where I am, and our company has worked really hard to get where we are. As that, so things are good to where that, right now, it doesn't hurt me at all to give, you know, and I, every opportunity that I can, what I'm saying. That's because that's the standard I told myself years ago that I'm gonna hold, I'm gonna hold myself to this, right? And it was even almost like, damn, what can I even do it? Like questioning myself, can I even do it? And well, 7 years later, yes, you could do it, and you've brought so much good to so many people, you know. So I was saying I work with homeless people and addicts, and I've seen a lot of them change. You know, I've seen people come out of addiction and homelessness, and when they come to you and to share with you their success, um, hey, I got a job now, happy and smiling. I got a place to stay now, you know. I got a car, One of the guys struggling for a long time on and off. I never gave up on him. And I just kept giving him love and kept telling him, you can do it, man. I know you're better than this, and you're going to be good. And you're going to, and I still remember that day that he pulled up and he's like, bro, look. And he was so happy. He was so happy. Look, I got a car. I got a job. And that was a couple years ago, and I just saw him the other day, and he was happy. He was working. Showed me a picture of his girlfriend. This guy was homeless. He was an addict. He would sleep behind a trash can at 7-Eleven night after night. But I never gave up on him or the others, and he's not the only one. There's others who have come out of, alcoholism and addiction to work towards something, something better. I've seen it happen. It takes time, but not giving up on these folks, not giving up on people, loving them, holding them to the same, like my friends. They are my friends, as them. There's this young fella named David. I haven't seen him in a couple of weeks, but 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 I was talking to him before, and he was asking me about should he take himself. He's homeless and an addict. He was asking me, should he take himself to the to the uh, to the addiction place. He was kind of scared, and he was asking me for my opinion. And I told him, yeah, look, bro, you're going to have a bed. You're going to have food, And he was kind of scared of maybe they were going to give him drugs to kind of keep him, not drugs but like psychoactive drugs or whatever, right? To kind of keep him And I told him, look, man, trust in God, right? Trust that and you're going to be safe. Those people care about you. They're going to take care of you, right? So I haven't seen him, but I ran into his buddy the other day, and I asked, where's David? And he said, oh, he had checked himself into the place. So hearing these things as that they feel good because because you didn't give up on them. You didn't give up on David, and now he's checked himself, and you didn't give up on homeboy, and now he got a car, he's got a girlfriend. You didn't give up on these people, and they've and some of them have come out of their predicament. But because I told myself, I'm gonna help these folks. I'm gonna help this person. They're here in my neighborhood. They're at the store. I see them every day. I have the ability to, you give somebody $5 is nothing to me. $10, I can handle that stuff. We hold ourselves. We're the ones that tell ourselves, don't give, get away from me when they come by the, dang, they're just trying to get something to eat, man. Yes, some of them do have addicts or problems or whatever, but they're hungry sometimes, man. David, when he would see me, he knew he could trust me. He would see me, he'd come up and he's like, damn, bro, can you give me something to eat? Yeah, what do you need? I'll get him a drink, a couple slices of pizza, then I'll give him some money. Take care of yourself, brother. What is the standard that you're going to hold yourself to? Like, if you care about your integrity, your word, that you can say, I'm going to be here on this day. We are going to this place on this day. I'm going to help you when you call me, right? If you want to sharpen that, if you want to reassure yourself that you have integrity, or you don't even know if you do, or maybe you don't, and you want to try to start doing it, well, what's the standard that you're going to hold yourself to, right? You got to know. And you got to hold yourself to that standard no matter what. Through the hard, it's like, through the hardest times, you know, uh, so like the story of Job, right? Everything was taken from him, but he never said damn it all. He never said F the world. He never said any of these things. He never gave up because he, things come and go, but there's a standard that we can hold ourselves to. That's like a rock that doesn't change with the weather, that can't be blown over with the wind, right? So the story of Job, everything was taken away from him. And meanwhile, it's like, why don't you, why haven't you turned to evil? Why haven't you condemned it? Why haven't you, shit, you should be the one, right? If anybody, you should be the one complaining. You should be the one condemning. You should be the one howling at the moon, right? When we're driving, we can get to a place where it's like, man, nobody, right? So this idea of condemning God or whatever is something like we've talked about driving before, but the idea of, man, well, everybody drives this way, so I should too, or it doesn't matter because you know what I'm saying? So integrity would be like, no, I'm gonna do this no matter if everyone else is doing something else. In society today, we see these things that are happening, that have been happening for, years now, that seem to want to, not that they're acceptable, but they want to be portrayed as acceptable when they've never been acceptable, right? We talk about integrity, honesty, moral principles, moral uprightness, a state of being whole and undivided. So let's go to the root of integrity. It comes from the word integer, which means one, indivisible, undividable, one thing, one apple. You know what I'm saying? Integrity, you're not divided. You're not divided. You're whole. You're whole. Your attitude, your thoughts, your actions, they all blend. They all mesh. You know what I'm saying? I don't act one way at work and then act another way at home and then act another way when I'm with my friends. That's being divided into different pieces and peoples and personalities, and when we're whole, when we find ourselves, when we work on our honesty and our actions, and we hold ourselves to a standard because we want to integrity, we become whole. Because those divisions within us, we start finding what they are and we start working on them. Damn, you know what? I don't act, I act different when I'm at work. I talk to people different, whatever those things may be. Right? We make ourselves whole. So like in the scripture, it talks about a divided house can't stand, right? When we're divided into different parts and with different pieces, attitude doesn't match my mind frame, my heart. All these parts are individual. They don't mesh together. They don't blend together. They don't mix together. That leads to trouble. But when we're whole, that kind of, it's unexplainable. But these behaviors, come with consequence. In the stories of the Bible, we hear about how God was punishing the Israelites, right? God was punishing the Israelites. Okay, That's the way it's written. Okay? Cause and effect. If your society doesn't care about its people, if your society doesn't care about its defense, self-defense against aggressive neighbors, if your society doesn't take care of its weakest, if your society doesn't have any moral standards, well, guess what? That neighbor of yours is going to come over and he's going to stomp your face in, because his army is worried about stuff. They are strong. They are taking care of their people. They are food. They feed their whatever. And they see y'all and they're, man, look at these clowns. Let's go get them. Let's go stomp their heads in. Why? Because the world is full of these, these snakes, right? We're talking about snakes. There is snakes out there. And when a society, when a nation falls away from a standard, right? They in the story it says they fell away from God, so God punished them. Okay, that's the way it's written. So they fall away from this standard and they get punished. Not punished, cause and effect. You don't protect your borders. You don't you don't have an army. You don't have a standing army. Your society's rules and behaviors are all corrupt. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to get your head stomped in by the next nation, by the next neighbor, by the next gang, by the next hoodlums, by the next narcos or whoever wants to take over the neighborhood or whatever, the next business who is more, on top of things than you. You know what I'm saying? When you fall away from this standard, you call it punishment, whatever, but it's cause and effect. You will suffer the consequences. When we don't follow these standards, when we don't hold ourselves to a standard, there's consequence. My life since a young adult has been full of consequence till, 10 years ago when I decided to change that trajectory, right? But there's consequence in our behavior. There's consequence in our ideals, in our ideology. There's consequence in how we live. There's consequences whether we think of our actions ahead of time or not. There's consequence in our words that we speak. There's consequence in our actions. We have to hold ourselves. We have to be the guards of ourselves. We have to hold ourselves to account. We have to be our coaches and our teachers. We have to do that because the world around us, everybody's busy. Nobody has time. We are responsible for ourselves. We look at society, right? It's always, there's always been murders and there's always been people who steal and there's always been criminal behavior as far back as humanity goes, right? But over time we've been able to learn certain ways and systems and standards to hold ourselves to get to actual progress, right? So like the Dalai Lama says, you must be the change that you want to see in the world, right? The change starts with yourself. But if you don't hold yourself to account, if you're not honest, if you don't follow any moral standards or guidelines, if you're just out there, not thinking about what you do or your actions or what you say or the consequences of what we do. Sometimes the consequence isn't immediate. It could be, stretched down the road a little bit. There's behaviors, there's actions, there's ideals, there's ideologies, there's things that we do that come with consequence. There's things that we do that have good outcomes. It's all in our choice on what I'm going to do. Am I going to be a drug dealer or am I going to help people, right? Am I going to work hard for my money and be an upright, moral citizen, hold myself to some sort of standard that I hadn't before, right? What standard am I going to do? What lifestyle am I going to choose, right? Because it's real easy to get lost in in things. Look, humans, we have addictive personalities, and we like things, and we like being in groups, and we like, you know, supportive. Dang, I'm in a group. They think the way we do. They think like me, or I support this group because they're doing work that I think is, But all in all these millions of moving pieces, there's people who lack integrity who will find their ways into positions of power, who will find their ways, onto the TV, onto the YouTube screen, onto the podcast. Some of them will find their ways into positions of actual power that has consequence. Where power with the law behind, that kind of power. I as a thug, as a street, as a crook, as a drug dealer, whatever. The only power I hold is in the gun or in the drugs or in the whatever harm I can do to the person. There's people with power in authority that come with power of law that can take your freedom away, that can take your house or your property or your whatever away. So we would hope that we can put people in those positions in whatever opportunity that we have available, in voting or whatever. But some positions are designated by who we vote for. Let's say to be the mayor or to be the governor or to be the whatever. They hire people into certain positions, right? And in some of these positions, there will be people who lack integrity, who are looking to steal, who line their pockets, who are looking to hook their friends up, who are looking to under the table, skims and kickbacks. Those things exist. I was part of that world for many years. That world exists. Many of us out here live in a life that's pretty sheltered from violence and from, drug dealing and from gangs and from these type of things, right? So, but that world does exist and it's out there. But even in the world that we live in now, I say who we, civil society, not the hoods, but even in the hoods and everything, but even in the civil areas, right? The uppity neighborhoods or the suburbs or whatever, there's people still looking to skim, to pull fast ones. There's snakes out there too. They're in the hood. They're over there. They're in government. They're in businesses. They are in organizations. They are on the screens. They are on YouTube. They are in the podcasts. Snakes are out there. People who lack integrity are out there, and the ones who are in positions of actual power are the more dangerous ones because of the power, that law that comes behind. So there's not much that we, the only thing that I say that we can do, right? The only thing that I say that we can do in a situation like this is back to like what the Dalai Lama said and the Christ and the Buddha. It's like we change ourselves first. I can say, man, that dude's lacking integrity. He never comes to when he says. He never does his job correctly. He never did. I can say that. We can point at people all day long. She does this. He does that one. This guy on that show, this one, that one. We can do that all day, calling names, pointing names, or whatever. You know what? How about we hold ourselves to account first and foremost? I'm going to hold myself to a standard. And that standard involves, philosophy and religion and what we do here and morality and helping homeless people and helping addicts and helping my friends who need money and working towards something positive and doing something good for my neighborhood and for my community and for you out there. I feel as though I owe that back to my community because of what I've taken. And that's the standard that I decided to hold myself to. This is the standard I'm going to hold myself to. And it can get rough sometimes. Sometimes, you don't feel like, but but the integrity, if you have integrity, if you're gonna hold yourself to this standard, you have to dig deep sometimes, you know, to be able to do these things. But once you do it day after day, you know, week after week, these things get easier and they just become a part of who you are. You know, giving money to homeless people, helping addicts, I can do that any day, all week, all year, like nothing. You know? It's never a burden, you know? Because that's the standard I decided to hold myself to, right? So what standard are you going to hold yourself to? If you don't already do, and if you do, congratulations. You're on your way. We're on our way together. But if you haven't, figure that out. Figure out what it is that you want to do. And hold yourself to account. Hold yourself to account. I don't want to curse. Hold yourself to account. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to gossip. Hold yourself to account. You are your coach. You are your teacher. You are your guard. You know, your overlooker, your overseer. You watch over yourself. Watch over your mind, your thoughts, your actions. Hold yourself to a higher standard. You know, because when we do that, only positivity comes from that. The reason why we suffer in life, in the hoods, in the neighborhood, the reason why I've suffered all my life is because I've never held myself to a moral standard. I never held myself to account. I lacked integrity. I lied. I cheated. I stealed. And that causes pain. So when we see pain out there in the world, we know what causes it. And if we know what causes it, then we know the antidote. We know the solution. It's been told to us. Hold yourself to a higher standard. All right. I think we'll wrap it up there. All right. Well, I want to thank you and I appreciate you so much for hanging out with us and going and sticking all the way through. I want to thank you so much for that. Sorry, it always takes me a minute to, after we cut the valve off, right? After we shut the valve off, it takes a minute for, what I'm saying? But all right, well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for hanging out with us today, and I hope that you enjoyed this message and that you maybe it touched your heart in a certain way, and maybe you learned something about yourself, and I just this is what it's all about. So I want to thank you, and I hope that this message was a good one for you. I enjoyed it. I can't wait to listen to it because I got to do some editing, so I will listen to it in a bit. I want to thank all you new listeners, all our new family members, for showing up and for hanging out with us today. I want to thank you. So, and just remind you, if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button on Spotify or wherever you're listening to us. Go over to our YouTube channel if you're not there yet. Hit the subscribe button there. That helps the algorithm. And also follow us on Facebook for a lot of other shareable content. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us today, and it really means a lot to me. Like, I really enjoy these moments together. It takes time for me to get here, but when I do, I really love it. It's a huge part of what makes me feel, what brings balance to my life. So I want to thank you for participating in that. That's it. All right, guys. So I want you to, in the meantime, I want you to take care of yourself. If you like what you heard, please tell your friends, share it. That really helps out. Tell your friends, if you like what you heard, hit subscribe so you will not miss a thing. All right, guys, I love you so much. In the meantime, I want you to stay safe and stay healthy out there. Hold yourself to them higher standards. Find your way in your balance and all these things, but find that moral standard that you're gonna hold yourself to, because we're gonna change this world one person at a time. One person at a time. Okay? All right, guys. I love you. Stay safe. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. And that's it. Stay safe, folks. Peace out. This is Thesis.